Shakshuka, the hugely popular North African dish. Today I'm showing you a recipe with a few twists so it suits autumn perfectly. So let's get started. Okay, to begin, we're going to make a Pilpelchuma, which is essentially a chili and garlic paste from Tripoli in Libya. Similar to a harissa in some ways, and I think it suits this Shakshuka recipe I'm cooking today brilliantly. Start by soaking 2 medium-sized dried Ancho Chillies in boiling water for around 30 minutes. If you can't get Ancho Chillies, then sub in any other dried or fresh chili that you want. Place that to one side, and now we need to peel 90 grams or 3.2 ounces of garlic. For me, this is a bulb and a half. I'm not going to go into too much detail about peeling garlic, but the easiest way I find is to take off the bottom of the clove and then cut it in half top to tail. This way I find the skin just tends to fall off a lot easier. Also, crushing a whole clove with a knife works well, and shaking all the cloves vigorously in a jar is a good method as well. Do whatever suits you. Now it's been around 25 minutes of soaking for the chilies. Just gently squeeze out any excess water, take the stems off and remove any seeds that are inside. There are usually not too many with Ancho Chillies. Then just chop them up into a small dice just so it's easier for the food processor to break them down. Add them to your food processor. This could also be a liquidizer or even a stick blender and a high-sided container. Add the peeled garlic as well. And now over to the stove to dry toast the spices for this Pilpelchuma. Place a dry pan on a medium-high heat and allow it to heat for 2 minutes. Firstly, in goes 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds and toast these for 1 to 2 minutes, moving them regularly. You know they are ready when they start to pop and dance in the pan a little. Now turn the pan onto a low heat and add 3 teaspoons of ground cumin, 5 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, and 5 teaspoons of sweet paprika. Ground spices burn very easily when dry toasting like this, so keep the heat low and stir them constantly. This is an essential step to wake the spices up and build the layers of flavour. You want to toast them for 2 minutes, no more. Now over to the food processor and add the hot spices in with the chili and garlic. Blend this until you have a thick paste. Now add 80 grams or 2.8 ounces of neutral tasting oil and blend again until incorporated. Around 30 seconds should do it. Now you should have a relatively smooth paste that smells incredible. Just be warned that it stains everything it touches, particularly your nice light coloured wooden chopping board. The flavours of this Pilpelchuma really develop after 24 hours, so I recommend making it ahead of time if you can. Now onto the vegetables for this shakshuka. Let's start with some potatoes. Here I have 2 russet potatoes. Use whatever you have available to you. Maris Pipers, King Edwards or Yukon Golds would all be great options. And I'll leave a weight to use down in the description. I've chosen to do potatoes in this shakshuka to suit the autumn season and to make it more of a substantial meal. I'm leaving the skins on and cutting them into roughly 1 centimeter or 1/3 of an inch cubes. Place them into a container and head over to your stovetop. Here I have a 28 centimeter 11 inch non-stick frying pan. Place that onto a medium-high heat and add around 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Let that heat for a few moments and add in your diced potatoes. Behind that, a good pinch of salt. Fry these for a couple of minutes, giving them a toss or a stir to get everything covered in oil and salt. Now turn your heat to low whilst we prepare the other ingredients for this shakshuka. Next up, 2 large red bell peppers. Once again, I'll leave the weight in the description. You could also use yellow peppers for this if that's what you have. I would avoid using green ones as they will be too bitter for this dish. We want some sweetness. If you don't like peppers or find them hard to digest, then I would use the same weight of onions instead. I'm just cutting these into 1/2 centimeter or 1/6 of an inch dice. Place those into a container and onto the tomatoes. Here I have 7 Roma tomatoes weighing around 750 grams or 26.5 ounces. I'm choosing to use fresh tomatoes for this dish because my local market had them and they were nice and ripe. By all means, use a good canned tomato instead of these fresh ones, and in most cases I would recommend using canned as they are picked and processed at their ripest, meaning maximum flavour. I'm just cutting these in half, removing the part where the stem was attached, and cutting them into a rough dice. Once again, if you struggle with digesting tomato skins, then use a good quality peeled canned option or peel these yourself. I'm opting not to today to keep this dish not too labour intensive. Back to the pan, and the potatoes have had 5 minutes of gentle cooking, and during that time I checked on them twice and gave them a toss and a move around. We are not looking to get any colour on them, just to start the cooking process and get that salt flavour into the potato. Now add in around half of your Pilpelchuma. This could also be a harissa if you wish, and a little concentrated tomato puree, around 2 teaspoons. Keeping the heat on low, give all that a really good stir so the potatoes are all coated in the pastes. Continue to cook for around 3 minutes, stirring regularly, making sure nothing is burning. The smell coming off this pan is incredible. To store the leftover Pilpelchuma, I recommend using a sterilised glass jar as it will stain a plastic one, and just push it into the jar using a clean spoon and get as much air out as possible. Then pour a little oil over the top to create a seal, and that will last in your fridge for around 1 month. After a couple minutes of gentle frying, in goes the diced pepper, and give all that another stir and continue to cook for another 2 to 3 minutes, once again stirring regularly. After 3 minutes the peppers have softened slightly. Now it's time to add the diced tomatoes, a good pinch of salt as well. At this point you're going to say that pan's too small, but don't fear, the tomatoes will break down and we want the pan quite full so we can make nice wells for the eggs to sit in later. From here I'm going to cook this down for around 30 minutes. If you're using canned tomatoes, then this could be as little as 15 minutes or until your potatoes are soft. Add a shot of water to create some humidity and place a lid on. 30 minutes later, with some occasional stirring, the tomatoes are all cooked down and the colour has really deepened. Now's the time to get the consistency and seasoning right. You want a little liquid like this. If yours is drier, then add a shot or two of water, and if it's wetter, then cook it with the lid off for a few more minutes. Have a taste and add a little more salt if needed. Also, if the flavours are a bit underwhelming at this stage, then a little pinch of sugar can really help to lift everything. I have my 4 eggs cracked into little dishes as we want them to go into the pan as close together time-wise as possible, so they cook evenly. This also helps to eliminate the chance of any shell getting in there as well. Keeping the pan on a gentle simmer, make 4 wells in your pan spaced evenly apart. These will fill back up with a little liquid, so keep your spoon in one hand and place your first egg in, then remake your second well and place that egg in, and repeat the process for the third and the fourth. Season the eggs with a little salt and cook uncovered for at least 10 minutes on a gentle simmer. After 12 minutes of gentle cooking, the egg whites have mostly set and the egg yolks are still very runny. If you want runny egg yolks at this stage, turn the pan off and let it sit for another 2 to 4 minutes to cool down and finish cooking the egg. After 3 minutes, my shakshuka is ready. I like to serve it simply in the pan to the middle of the table with some pita breads or flatbreads and a side of thick natural yogurt. The yolks are perfectly runny and this has a deeply spiced, mouth-watering smell. I really hope you go try this version of shakshuka soon. And a big thanks to Daz for sending me a message requesting this dish. Alright guys, and that's that. If you love shakshuka, then try this pita bread recipe to go with it, and I'll see you next time.